Oh, it's been a bit for myself, but I think today I'm just going to do another rambling on. But I think I do want to go back to something I had mentioned in a previous session where I talked about For Against Darkness and the game and games I've been playing with a friend of mine that I've known for 20 plus years now. But let's roll it back a little bit. For Against Darkness, a solitaire dungeon delving paper and pen game by Andrea Sviloj. Oh man, I'm not going to pronounce the man's name because I can't. Anyway, I've talked about this game in the past. I'm not going to go ham so much about the game itself. But what I am going to do is sort of share with everybody what my friend and I have done to sort of make this into a pseudo role-playing game that we have used as the core rules for an ongoing campaign, in which that we use the books from For Against Darkness, plus we have been using a module, which I've also talked about, the Evils of Ilmire, a classic fantasy adventure module, written by Zach Wolf of Spellsword, and this module is sort of keyed for older editions of D&D and similar rule sets. So this is really useful for people who play OSE, Old School Essentials. Can be used for 5e Dungeon World and other systems with other modifications. My friend and I, we were able to utilize the monsters and such as is because we just pulled the things. Say that we meet a cultist, we grab a book and we go to the minions and we find chaos beasts and chaos fanatics for cultists like that. So I guess today I just want to go over how we did all of this. It's kind of I wouldn't say a super long and epic story, but there is a lot going on. I guess I'll just start with some of the basics. Well, the basics is I need to clean up my desk, so I'm going to be doing that while I talk. And that's just how I roll around here. Of course, I have my little dice tower that my son got me at a convention. I think I mentioned this before. I really like it. So what do I do in a game where it is essentially a solo game, written for solo play? There is written in the rules a RPG light option in the book. But when this book was written, it wasn't really, it didn't have the same popularity as it does now. And like others have mentioned, and other channels and other people in the scene, this particular book, the physical book itself, would benefit from a rewrite and a rework. I know that is in the pipeline for the creator of the game. When that comes out, that is up to them. So when that comes out, I am definitely going to purchase a new copy for sure. But needless to say, this game was written for solo players to create dungeons and go into those said dungeons and just have fun by going through the various dungeons and creating them, and all of that fun stuff. Wasn't really organized for multiple players per se. So that being said, how do you convert a game like this into a multiple player thing? Now, I've done that myself, taking the part of a GM and no rolling of dice on my end, though I would have my friends play one of the 4 characters, and there would be, their various stats and everything, just like in any other role-playing game. And I would have them roll a d6 for the various tables on what vermin tables, minion tables. I would have them roll the 2d12 or 2d6 table for the bell curve, like room contents. So they wouldn't have the book with them. They wouldn't know what's coming up. So it's very easy to actually run a game of For Against Darkness for a group of 4 people to play as a light role-playing mechanic, like a light combat mechanic, and you fill in the role-playing as necessary. It very, very leans heavy on the rulings over rules when it comes to role-playing stuff, especially when the mechanics are only cover so many things, mostly only combat. And that is where like the expansions for the book for the game come into play, like Treacheries of the Troublesome Towns. This is a kind of a, I mean, none of this is necessary, but this stuff made it easy for me to look up some gods and stuff that would come into play, things like that. We used Court of the Pixie King when we wanted to do Feywild type-oriented things, with new tunnels and stuff when we would dig into a tree stump. That's what had happened at one point. We found a druid in this module that would help us, but he sent us on a quest to go somewhere, and it led into some tunnels and stuff like that. So we used contents and missions and monsters and stuff from this book, and that was fun. The most recent thing that we did was we ran an outdoor cross-hex adventure that was a woodland sort of fen area, like a bog area, that was tainted by the chaos of the cult that was run by the lead cultist in this module. And so thematically, we just chose books and material from For Against Darkness supplements that coincided with that. My friend ran this particular adventure, and he chose to run the woodland dungeons for mostly the tiles that we would use. And then in terms to represent the fact that we had the chaos cultists have overrun the area and have basically not converted, but ruined the area with their chaos. I can't think of that word off the top of my head. And we would roll a 50% chance of it being a normal woodland dungeon, or a woodland dungeon that has some touched by chaos event, and we would roll on the tables on the Caverns of Chaos book. And that being said, we would pull from various books like Tales of the Adventurers Guild if we needed other spells and mechanics and things like that. I have, thankfully to the creator of the content, I don't want to show this book as it has not been officially released yet. I was doing some play testing for it, and I have not asked the author if it was okay to share the content in it. So It is a book written by Eric Indigo. He has written lots of content. Eric, actually Bouchard, I think is his name. He wrote the Crucible of a Classic Critters. Basically, any of the titles that have white, the white titles are all written mostly by him. So this book is filled with lots of extra spells and everything that my wizard absolutely loves. So that was a lot of fun to use those spells. Another thing that we did was we there we go. My hourglass seems to stick sometimes, which is really unfortunate. One of the things that we also tried to do was to, well, keep to the theme of what's going on in this book. The Evils of Illmire is effectively top down. It's a hex crawl that has various things going on, but you enter into a town called Illmire that is overrun by a cultist group that is run by a couple of lead cultists, and you can oust them from the town by taking over the temple that they had subvertly taken over as well. There's a watchtower in the region that the bandits are in league with the cultists, feeding them new recruits and sacrificial people. But there is an overarching, larger sort of not enemy but controller of the region called the Observer. And my last session that I ran for the party was a sort of freeing of a local witch that had been turned into basically moss and basically had been morphed back into which she has control. She has control over the swamps and like mushrooms and stuff like that. So she was turned into one of those creatures, and we had met an emissary of that witch that had asked our party to come and help, so we did. And I was able to run us through basically a gauntlet of adventures to free her of those shackles, and our party was able to do so. And we learned that there's not just the cultists that are causing trouble, but there is a large observer creature that we don't know much about. Hint, hint, top down. It looks to be a beholder-esque type of creature with tentacles and stuff like that. That is been in the region so long, he's been bored and has been influencing the creatures of the area to do things on his will. So he's kind of like a high sorcerer type of creature, but I think beholder in look, I think. Don't really know what creature we'll use when we get to him, when we use the Forgans Darkness creatures and stuff, but that'll be fun. But we've been all over these hexes. We've been to the mines to save some lost villagers. We've been to the Spirewood to save the druid. We have helped the frog people from the mantis men. We actually cleared out the mantis men's mound, so they're no longer a problem in the area. We actually cleared out the cultist cavern that was using the fungal caverns to fuel their fear-driven potions, stuff like that. So now we need to find the main hideout of the cavern, of the chaos cult, and then maybe find and or talk to this observer person. But there's a lot going on in this hex, and it's really interesting what our characters and what we have decided to like make of it. There's still a lot that we haven't touched, but it's been a lot of fun running this as a long campaign. we've been playing for a few years now with this book. We've been playing For Against Darkness together for several years. I don't remember the first time that we started this adventure. I wish I had more copious notes about this whole thing. I have dates. Yeah, I have like an adventure that I wrote called Hag's End. And I don't remember when we ran this adventure. That was unfortunate. I should have wrote down Tomb of Putin. That's on the 5th of November of 2022. So we've been playing this for at least a couple of years, and then we switched over to playing this module, and we haven't looked back since. I think we've been playing this for at least 2 full years, on and off with other things. And there's so much more in here. There's an assassin that has been tracking us as well, and hopefully we won't be able to be ambushed by that particular chaos assassin. It's pretty brutal. But yeah, so I guess this is just me like blathering on what we've been doing with the books and stuff. Let's see. Wall of Ice, Lich level 10. We did not fight that. Infallible Missile. I wish I wrote down a date for this stuff. 8/12/2022. Okay, yeah, there we go. So yeah, we've been playing for about 2 years now. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. So I guess, yeah. Oh, I can't show that. For Against Darkness can definitely be used as a cooperative sort of like role-playing system as well. And lately, my friend and I have been alternating who runs the adventures, and it's been really fun being like the player that kind of pushes the group in a direction, and then it's been really fun to swap and then be the GM who sort of runs the adventures that the other player doesn't really know much about. So that's been a lot of fun too. But I would like to know, for any long-term sort of solo stuff, cooperative stuff, or even like role-playing stuff with other people. I've gotten 2 years out of Evils of Ilmire, a classic fantasy adventure module that, in all intents and purposes, in a standard group of adventuring party, as a GM, if I was starting to run this, I would say that this would last me about a year before the party was exhausted all options in this book. And needless to say, it's a sandbox adventure, so your group may not go through everything, but say that they wanted to. Say there was a magical dome around all of these hexes, and the only way in or out was one road, and you had to solve the mystery and basically do all the content before you were completed. I can't remember how much I paid for this. I think it was like $15 or $16, but I've gotten so much use out of it, and the art in this is great. I like the font. I like the old school art in here. I like even the cartography and the maps are really nice and well laid out. Everything is usually in a set of 2 pages for each of the dungeons, which is really helpful. And then you got like these blurbs of the major NPCs and monsters in the book. And I don't mind that all the monsters are in the back of the book with all the magical items. That doesn't bother me at all. But the only thing I will say is that sometimes you can get lost between the gazetteer, which is more about the hex, and then also going to, say, the town itself has a separate entry. But it may not have everything in both, or you can't look at one entry and see everything. You have to flip and memorize two separate entries for the same hex in the same area. But again, it is minimal effort to read ahead and just read what you need. I have not read these pages on my book since I first opened it, and we've been playing for 2 years. But I don't need this yet until I get there, which is nice. And it's seen a lot of use. I'm finally going through the stapler here. I might have to restaple it. But yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to go over. Today was, mechanics-wise, I will say, for Four Against Darkness, playing with two people, we split the party down the middle, and I am playing, and I guess I should have gone over this earlier. I am playing two characters, and my friend is playing two characters. I am playing a marksman by the name of Pathfinder, and a wizard by the name of Alan Greycape. They are both level 8 now. We started this adventure when they were level 2 or 3, I think. They had each played other adventures before this, but we have modified how spellcasting works a little bit, modified a little bit how certain skills or saves work. In Four Against Darkness, there's no skills. There are basically special abilities, and there are traits, and those are usually defined by your character and then how what tier they belong to. The minute that you're in tier 2, which is expert, you can get expert skills. And right now, our characters are in expert tier, so they have expert skills. But leveling up in this game is not guaranteed. You get XP rolls. We have modified that a little bit. We have given ourselves XP rolls for more role play situations sometimes. We still needed to roll to level up, but we did not only get XP's rolls from one of the few ways that you can do it in the game, which is killing 10 minions and or vermin if the vermin are higher level, or killing weird and boss monsters. So those are like combat is the main way of gaining XP rolls in this game, mostly because it's a dungeon delving game, and that's what its intent is. But since its release and all the way up until now, it has generators for towns. It has roles and mechanics for marriage and having children and hirelings and running a guild and being part of a particular society and stuff like that. And obviously there are role-playing rules for like sneaking and stuff like that. So it's really helpful to have those rules to go to as we are role-playing our characters more, which is nice. And sometimes we do rulings as well, like when our fairy pixie character, Pike, who is a Fey origin, there's no innate magical save stuff that is built into the character, but we have modified that that over the course of the adventure has become more attuned to natural stuff, so they get a bonus to natural saves and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. So there's always ways that you can modify your play and the rules given to you to give you more options to play whatever that you would like. And that's what I like about this kind of stuff, and I like the hobby itself, in of itself. Sometimes we are really hard on each other and ourselves about following rules or changing them because it's not in the spirit of the game's intent. And I am part and parcel to that problem. I notice that I sometimes get a stickler for how the game is supposed to be played sometimes versus how the game is fun to play. I recently saw a post complaining, and rightly so, for their own amusement, on how hard the game Kernithalis was to grok and understand. That game has a lot of granular things happening in it. And a lot of people, including myself, made flowcharts to help them learn the game. And sometimes that's just not fun for people. And I understand that, and I get that. That's fine. But it's most important that everyone understands that, no one can police your fun. No one can tell you how to play your game. No one can tell me how to play my game right now. Like, no one is allowed to. You are not allowed to. My wife's not allowed to. My kids aren't allowed to. Like, I can play however I want because it is my game. It's just that simple. Saying it like that feels, holier than thou, but it's not anything except all due respect, right? That's the feeling that I get. If someone tells me I can't do something when it's my own thing that does not inflict upon anyone else, then they can just go somewhere else. That's really the camp that I'm standing on. Well, this turned into a little bit of a ramble on, of course, but this is going to be something I probably do a little more often in between actual play sessions. And I know I've asked this before, and I know I don't remember a lot of the things I ask a lot. I don't rewatch all of my content all the time. But the stuff that I would like to get to the table, the things I like to do, they change and they fluctuate depending on the season, depending on my mood, depending on my availability. Like I had mentioned, I know in recent sessions that it's been really nice outside. And I've been outside cooking. I've been outside doing the whole summer thing. So haven't really had a lot of time at the table that felt that I could enjoy. So, but I think I'm going to wrap it up. I've been waxing poetic a little too long here. So I'll just say this, y'all. Until next time, I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.